Well, good evening, everybody, and a warm and loving welcome to your Thursday evening service here at Littleport from Boudoir del... No, that's wrong. We don't have Boudoir del Brown today. We have Kitchen de Swindles, which doesn't sound the same, really, but never mind. Like I say, warm and loving welcome to Littleport. Welcome to those who are watching live. Welcome to those who are watching in the future, which always does my head in because it's a time machine. It's all great. As you may notice, you have a guest chairperson today, and that is because we have a very, very special medium who said it was his first time doing a service on live stream. But hello.
Hey, it's the Boudoir del Brown.
It's Boudoir del Brown, you see. It's not your first service, is it, sir?
It's not my first service. Yes, I thought this was the first time I'd served Littleport actual online since we went online, but I do stand corrected. Susan Symes, bless her, she did a really good job. She knew she was right and I was wrong, so she found the proof and she demonstrated that I was inaccurate in my assumption. I served in December. I always serve in December. It's a tradition and I stuck to that. So I'd forgotten, but it proves what Lynn always said when we were developing, of course, that mediums have got absolutely diabolical memories. And it just proves a point. Yes, it's kind of like cat's whiskers stubble, because I can't grow a full beard, but no, so I'd forgotten completely. But that just shows that when we are mediums, we do forget the information that we give out to people. So your privacy is protected with regard to the mediumship, at least. Not necessarily if I can see you underneath the screen, but
no,
the mediumship definitely.
No. Yeah. It is a bit strange, isn't it? If you return to a venue after you've demonstrated there, and somebody comes up and says, "Last time you were here, and you told me about," and
can't remember.
I mean, if we tried to remember every piece of information Spirit gave us, you'd need a brain the size of a planet.
And a plenty of tissues as well with the emotions that you experience as well.
Yeah, definitely.
But thank you for stepping into the chair. Thank you for stepping into the chair.
Yeah. You're more than welcome. Thank you. And thank you for asking me. It's always a pleasure to be in Littleport. And I promise one day soon we will get dog sitters and we will be down on a Thursday evening to visit you all in persona.
Fabulous.
Okay. If we could just open in prayer, please, just to set the intention for this evening, if that's all right. Could we blend our energies together? Great Spirit, Father, Mother, God, we thank you for the privilege of gathering together across this virtual space tonight to bring thee honour and glory. Father, I ask that the veil be lifted between the two realms to allow the guides and inspirers of those here to step forward, to support us and guide us through this short service. As always, we promise that everything we do tonight will be done with love, truth and honesty in our hearts. And at the end of this evening, we will hand back to you everything which was rightfully yours in love, honour and glory. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, everybody. And I suppose there's somebody else we should invite up to the stage.
Absolutely.
She does look ready.
Excellent stuff.
Reverend Lynn, hello.
Hello to you. Hello, everyone. And hello to you, Reverend Tony and Reverend Nick. And what a lovely evening you're going to provide for everybody. And I'm very, very happy to be a part of this service this evening, especially since my little protege, and I haven't got any Gladdies with me, so you're all right. Awesome. is going to give the communication from spirit, which is basically what everybody wants to hear. They want their messages, and there's nothing wrong with that. People used to decry that, and maybe they still do sometimes here and there. Although people are more used to, seeing these messages being delivered now, since everything has gone online, and we have millions of mediums. Some are not mediums, of course, that say they're mediums, but we will content ourselves with the genuine mediums at the moment. We won't go into that one. But there are lots and lots and lots of genuine mediums out there delivering messages and communication from spirit all the time. It's wonderful, day and night. Almost like the old hymn, the voice of prayer is never silent, because, when here our sun goes down, in another part of the world, the sun comes up at the same time. And so all those morning and evening and daytime prayers are being said, and communications are being heard and relayed all the time, every minute of every day and night. So somewhere on this planet, somewhere somebody is getting a message from a loved one. And I think that's wonderful. And that we're going to be part of that tonight, because Reverend Nick, once upon a time, made me a cup of tea, which wasn't ever so good. So I thought perhaps he could do something else instead. So why not become a medium? Not exactly like that, but that's what it was, you see. Because people upstairs know, when I say upstairs, I mean reverently, those in the spirit realms, the heavenly realms. And we do get revelation from them still. And not just on an ordinary, well, what we call ordinary, ordinary mediumship level, which is where our uncles and aunties and grandparents and loved ones in general come through. But, those far more lofty heights where our spirit guides dwelleth. And, I knew that Reverend Nick, was going to be a medium, that he was going to do this work. And so tonight is very specially gratifying for me and those on the other side upstairs to see how far he's progressed. And, this thing about messages, as I was saying, people say, oh, just messages, and the fact is that people can point their finger at us as spiritualists and say, oh, we're only all about ourselves and how we feel, and we're very sort of, earthly in our attitudes and everything, which is absolute nonsense, isn't it? Yes, we are down to earth. We are grounded, because that's what we try to be. We're here, obviously, to learn our lessons in life in the physical world, but we are so aware that we are spirit within, and that spirit is all around us, that it seems to unsettle and unnerve those who would naysay us. And the thing is that very often people like that will use the Bible, for instance, to sort of quote passages at us or at each other, telling each other how wrong we are to be doing what we are doing. For instance, they will take words completely out of context and not understanding them themselves, but they are basically interpreting the words that they read, but at the same time, they're saying this is the word, but they are actually interpreting it in their own way. But we can interpret it in our own way too, for the good. And for instance, people quote often St. Paul, who was Saul of Tarsus, of course. And he was the first real missionary, if you like, who trekked about spreading the word of the spiritual way. They're called Christians by an irate Roman emperor, actually, because they were getting on his nerves. Can I not be rid of these Christians? Christians, followers of Christ. and that's how. And then the name stuck. And then, of course, we had all the Orthodox, Christians quoting to us words and passages from the Bible that we also revere, and interpreting it to suit themselves. Now, they wouldn't have that. They tell us that if we are anything like looking at the Bible, that we're all wrong. And one of the worst things I've come across is that thing where they sort of pretend that we are the deceivers, or we work for the devil, for Satan. I mean, what a load of rubbish is that? If you look at Reverend Nick, Reverend Tony, and everybody else who works for spirit and spiritualism, they've got nothing whatsoever to do with that. And they are ministers of the light. Of course they are. And no amount of bashing us with verses and words from the Bible is going to change that, because they themselves are misinterpreting and misunderstanding. And in our spiritualist understanding, if you read the Bible in our spiritualist understanding, a lot of it makes a lot of sense. Look at this, for instance, what Paul said. There was a lot of aggravation in Corinth. He founded a church there, and they were all at it. And on top of that, there were other people who were spreading the word of this new spiritual way that Paul was taking issue with. And I think they were making money out of it as well. And he was very aggravated over that, because if you read between the lines, you can see that he was moaning and groaning about not having enough money and the burden that it was. And he went through terrible trials and tribulations. So, of course, he had every reason to be aggravated and write this letter to the Corinthian church. And in amongst it all, he said, I'll tell you, he says, he was talking about these missionaries that he had objections to. But such men are false apostles and masquerading as apostles, he said, and masquerading as apostles of Christ, the Messiah. And he says it's no wonder, for Satan himself, masquerades as an angel of light. So he was sort of basically saying it doesn't matter how lovely some people present themselves at, they're not actually. Well, us spiritualists are always saying to people, be on watch for people who are not what they say they are. If they say that they're giving you communication from the spirit realms, test them, find out, make sure that they are. And when we say nice things, we are saying nice things, and we work for the light. And no amount of extreme Christian evangelism is going to convince me any different. So we have just got to go out there as we do and make sure that people understand our message and our interpretation of that. And to say to people, yes, he was saying that, but then of course he was really angry, and he was talking about all these people that he'd fallen out with, and people that weren't doing the right thing. And so don't hit us with that, because we're not doing that, and he would not be hitting us with that. So I just think that message services are very important. And I think that every service, apart from what we call hatch, match and dispatch, that is christening or naming, weddings and blessings of unions and so on, and funerals, you won't get clairvoyance or of any kind at those services. But at all other services, invariably, you will have a mediumship, communication, proving that what we say is the truth, that we are all spirit, that we go back to spirit, we came from spirit, and that will sustain us no matter what, that we do work for the light, we are children of light, and we have no need to fear. And Paul himself, having gone through all sorts of traumas and dreadful imprisonments and floggings and you name it, he suffered it. And on top of that, in the end, we don't know precisely, but it is assumed that he was crucified himself. And some say stories that were abounding that he was actually sawn in half. That is no way. So, we have to respect those missionaries of old. And, I was going to say to you what he said. He talked about a situation that we would call trance. He said that, about that he was caught up. Hold on, I'll tell you. He says, I know a man in Christ who 14 years ago, whether in the body or out of the body, I do not know. Explain that, evangelistic Christians. God knows, was caught up to the third heaven. And I know that this man, whether in the body or away from the body, I do not know, God knows, was caught up into paradise, and he heard utterances beyond the power of man to put into words, which man is not permitted to utter. Of this same man's experience I will boast, but of myself personally I will not boast, except as regards my infirmities, my weaknesses. The fact is that that's trance. We understand that. That was this man that he talks about in the third person, was in a trance, and he ascended to that highest state of consciousness where he was able to connect with those highly evolved beings, those angels of light in the spirit world, and he heard things. Well, we're lucky, when we hear things, and when others hear things now, it can be written down and can be spoken of quite freely. And we understand that as spiritualists. And I think that to be Christian spiritualists as we are, I think, echoes all of those. If you read those stories in the Bible from first to last, they're absolutely imbued with what we understand as spiritualism. And if people start, bashing you with odd words and verses, read it up yourself in your own spiritualist understanding and knowledge, and you will see that there's all sorts of stuff in there that we can recognize. And it's just really interesting. So, don't let them hit you with that. We're not disguised as angels of light. We do work for the light and those who help us. And you will hear from people tonight through Reverend Nick who have passed on to that spirit world, who are there living in the light, and who will be able to pass back to you through Reverend Nick's good mediumship messages of love and comfort, and will let you know that they know what you've been up to. Now, that's the other thing, you see. You are watched. Not, God is very busy, but the fact is this, that we are all part of God. And you know yourself that if any part of you, any part of you hurts or suffers something, you know about it. Your central sort of, clearing bank, if you like, knows what's going on with you. And so does God know what is going on with everything and everybody. That is so mind-blowing. Paul said things that you couldn't utter. He heard and saw things you could not utter. And of course, when you think of the enormity of that, no human being can actually grasp that, except if you bring it down to the microcosm of yourself, of every little sentient being. It's like God knowing everything about everything, because he brought it all into being. So God is everywhere. And this has been something that has been known since before Christ, before Moses. People just knew that there was this great spirit that brought everything into being and who knows everything. So when I said, watch out, you're being watched, you are. So I hope that cheers you up. It should be. As long as you do the right thing, and understand that we are human beings. And as such, God understands that too. So with all our faults and failings and all the things that we think we shouldn't do or should we do, as long as we are to our conscience true and love one another as Jesus commanded. Well, it wasn't just him that commanded, he got that out of Leviticus, because remember, Jesus was a Jew. Lots of people don't like to think about that, especially the ones who sort of like to batter Jews, and it's got worse recently. But certainly Jesus himself was a Jew. And I don't know how many Jesuses, 6 million Jesuses were killed in the last war. We have to realize that everybody is worth something as a human being, and we are known to God. So just be good, won't you? And good luck, Reverend Nick, for this evening. I'm sure that you'll have a real good one.
Thank you. No pressure.
I'll just mute Lynn for a second. I have the power tonight. Absolutely wonderful words, Reverend Lynn. Wonderful words. Thank you so much for that. And we shall see you later in the service for the final prayer, if that's okay, Lynn. Bye.
I just would, before we continue, because I get to do the interrupting this week. It's lovely.
You do.
One of the things that Lynn reminded me of course, when she was speaking, is that the New Christian Spiritualist Society logo, of which what I made, that one right there. The writing on the book is actually where Paul talks about the gifts of speaking in tongues, the gifts of healing, of discerning spirits. So I was just reminded of that. So we can get rid of that now. But
it's magic.
The one thing about not having to worry about whether people are popping up or not, or bring this person up and post that comment there and keep an eye on Matthew and Michael because they're being naughty, which I think is wonderful.
I love it. I love that.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Just if you're weak of mind, just avoid the comment about ectoplasm. We'll save that for next week when he's with us.
We will.
I would like to just briefly thank, because a church is it's people. And I just want to thank the lovely, lovely Beverly from last week. She had a reading and she sent us a present. She actually sent us two, but the other one is too blooming heavy. For when we reopen the hall, look at that. 200 Yorkshire tea bags. We've been taken over by the North and I love it. Of course, Lynn mentioned that my tea making skills weren't that good. Which reminded me to bring this up. Of course, I won't tell you all because, I'm having to behave this week as medium. I won't tell everybody that her exact description of my cup of tea that I made for was that of Nat's pee, because that would just be wrong.
It would. It wouldn't. Yes.
I wouldn't say that at all. But there you go. So thank you to Beverly for the tea, and 300 biscuits individually wrapped as well. So, we're ready for a fortnight's
Wonderful.
time.
Wonderful.
Right, I'll shut up now.
Are you sure?
I'll pour myself a drink and put something in my mouth, and we'll be fine.
Okay, that's fine. And while you are doing that, I will bring up our reading for tonight. Good evening, Reverend Alan.
Good evening.
How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm good. I've been kind of rushed off my feet this week, but so I have to admit that this is a past reading that I did some months ago.
Repeating yourself.
Yeah, that's right. But I rushed out very early this morning and been on Skegness Beach metal detecting, all for 2p, may I add. I got back and time was running short, so I just went into my folder and grabbed a reading, knowing not what it was, come online. So this, Reverend Nick, is truly from Spirit. And it's called A Smile. I personally think it's a lovely reading. A smile costs nothing, but gives much. It takes but a moment, but the memory of it usually lasts forever. None are so rich that can get along without it. None are so poor, but can be made rich by it. It enriches those who receive without making poor those who give. It creates sunshine in the home, fosters goodwill in business, and it is the best antidote for trouble, and yet it cannot be begged, borrowed, or stolen, for it is of no value unless it is given away. Some people are too busy to give you a smile. Give them one of yours. For the good Lord knows that no one needs a smile so badly as he or she who has no more smiles left to give. Thank you.
Oh, bless you. That was amazing. And you're getting lots of claps from downstairs. You are. And that is so true. That is so
Absolutely.
true.
It is absolutely true. And I think it's because it's truth that makes it so beautiful. You know,
It is.
sadly, the author is not known, but, you know, it's just such a lovely true. And to put it into those words is just, you know, it's just lovely.
Yeah. It almost reminded me of the one that's attributed to Spike Milligan about a smile being infectious.
Yeah. Yeah. I would probably
It
say
is. It lifts. A smile lifts you up. A smile lifts you up.
absolutely. Absolutely. It sure does.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Reverend Allen.
Very welcome.
And we shall see you at the end of the service
Will do.
for the final prayer if you're
Will
around.
do.
God bless.
God bless you.
Amen.
Might need your input for the next bit, Mr. Brown.
Why for? Why for is that, my lovely?
Because it's healing time. And I haven't written it down. I've got a slide for it on my
Oh, yes,
page.
of course you have. Would you like me to do the healing prayer?
If you would do the healing prayer, please, dear.
Will you do the techie bit? Because
I'll do all of the. I'll do the. You're the medium. You can't.
I'm working fingerless tonight, so you know. I'm only
Don't want to know where your fingers are, dear.
I'm not using my hands. I'm not using my fingers. It's mouth and voice only. So
Okay.
you can push the buttons. Let me.
I will. We now come to the healing part of this. Well, I say that it's not really, because everything we do as spiritualists is about healing. Even the welcome, the introductions, it's about healing, gathering us together.
Absolutely.
So we are going to give absent healing to those in need. It'll start with the healing prayer. Then we'll have the nice candles that have travelled around the country. And the healing will end when we say the word Amen. Over to Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Reverend Tony.
Thank you, sir.
Friends, let's join together and take a moment of serious contemplation as we send out our thoughts to all those who are sick and suffering and in need of comfort. Let us think of all of those that we are aware of that are needing of healing. All those that are listed in all the healing books and all those that are listed on here in the comments. Now's your time to mention a name. And of course, let us not forget that we can ask for healing for ourselves. Sometimes that's the best place to start. So let's join together as we say those wonderful words. Great Spirit, Father, Mother God, here we bring unto you all those who are sick and suffering and in need of comfort, be they sick in mind, body, or spirit, that it may please thee to heal them. This we ask for those we know, those we do not know, and those who have no one to ask for them. We ask for them now.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. Well, the back. I was just a little bit stressed then because our first recipient disappeared. I was like, oh no. Okay. Now we come to the mediumship, where we hand over to the Reverend Nick and his guides and inspirers. We have 3 recipients waiting backstage, all eagerly anticipating. So in order of arrival into the studio, we have Jamie. Hello there.
Hello, mate. You all right?
Very well, thank you. Very well. I will leave you in the lovely company of Reverend Nick for a short period, and I shall see you shortly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jamie, hello. Can you hear me?
I can, mate. Yeah.
Fabulous. That's a good start, and I know that you've been tipped off on what this like, because obviously the link was passed on to you, so I know.
That's right.
You've been prepared for what is to come, so don't worry, you're fine. I will just make a little bit of a joke to lighten the mood for you. Although I've got one by the beds, by the computer, I don't use it, so don't worry. Only to keep the letters organised. And one of the ways that I work, I always tend to find that I ramble just before I start linking in, and I've found that rambling is usually something to do with the message that I'm giving. It always has a connection to the person that's coming through. So I am aware of making jokes when it's very, very potentially going to be emotional or potentially going to be a new situation. This person would have made jokes and got a bit magpie-like. I'm distracted by all the shiny things, and have you seen this, and have you seen that, and take a look at my lovely tea set, and I know you've come round to talk about something serious, but I'm gonna talk about what the neighbours are doing, and completely changing the subject. And I do know that this gentleman that's first stepping forward was very much like that in personality. He would change the subject, especially when he thought it was going to get a little bit emotional, or something that might be a little bit different or unusual to what he or you was used to. And I do feel that you do take after him a little bit on that score, but you're nowhere near as bad as me, he says. You're nowhere near as bad as me, but you do give it a good try sometimes. Would you understand a grandfather figure in that kind of description? Thank you. Because he was intrigued by that. I had to pick it. It's so funny, because he's very inquisitive, very wanting to know the ins and outs of a duck's what's it. Because he's like, how heavy is that thing? Pick it up. Let me see how heavy it is. And he wanted. He was very much a self-learned man, because he would pull things apart to put them back together again. They didn't always manage to be put back together again in the right way. It's that old story. There's always one screw left, even though there shouldn't be, and that sort of stuff. But do you know what? It still worked. So that's all that mattered. And he was very, very learned, because he studied people, he studied the world, he studied everything in front of him, and he would pull it apart and put it back together again to see how it worked, so that if it did break, he knew what he's doing. Something else he says that you're particularly taking after him on, however, you don't have as many screws left as he used to. He says he's a lot more technically minded than I am. He says, but it's still good to know that there's somebody beside him who can work the technology. And he's definitely putting a loop around the two of you. So I will at some point have to mention you, because I right, okay. One of the things that I tend to find is that we mediums tend to read too quickly into what spirit are giving us, and we make assumptions. And so this is in part me influencing the assumption. But based on what he's just said to me, would I understand that this grandfather that we're connecting with would either have gone before you two got together, or you hadn't been together very long?
Yeah, he went before.
because what he's saying to me is that you've quite often wondered what he would think about you two.
Yeah.
And what he would say in particular about someone. And he says, you're not to worry. Right up my down to earth, proper kind of human being. That's the way it is. Somebody's got to keep you straight, boy. Somebody's got to keep you straight. And she definitely has a work cut out on that. Oh, I tell you, he's got his work. She's got her work cut out for her. But she does it with such patience, and probably more patient than I would have been from time to time. He is saying that occasionally he wasn't always the most patient of people in certain situations. That was more frustration than aggression, and everybody knew it, because people really, when he had what he's describing as one of my blow-ups, people didn't ever take it too personally, because they knew that it was frustration rather than aggression. Certainly I'm being given and feeling towards the end of his life, it was more frustration, and he became as he got closer and closer to transition, he got more and more frustrated, because he couldn't pull the radio apart, he couldn't take the TV apart, he couldn't find out what that liquid crystal looked like without the screen on it. He wanted to know everything, and he had such a thirst for knowledge. But the one thing he really didn't want to know was what was happening next.
Yeah.
And so he finds it quite ironic that he would find himself, in his words, talking to some bloke like me, which, you know, he's got no problem with that, but he just never thought he would find himself in this situation where he would be having a conversation, not only with someone like me, but passing the information on to you. So this is one thing he acknowledges, that you are far more emotionally open than he was, or would have given you credit for. And he has to apologize for that, because he didn't always see the emotional side of what was going on. Don't get me wrong, I've already said that he would always avoid emotions, and that's part of it, but he didn't really see the emotional side of how things in particular impacted the male side of the family. And he wants to just acknowledge that and say, you know, I am so pleased for being, I've never been more pleased for being wrong in any of my lives, he says. And he says, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. It makes you truly who you are. And I'm pleased of that. And it makes her life easier and all. And he just brings back the humor, because that's what he wants to do.
Yeah.
He needs to bring the humor in. He says, you're probably thinking that you're going to get a right royal rollicking. You're probably going to get corrected, especially with Lynn saying that he can see everything you've been up to, and that Spirit can see all what we've been up to. And you're probably sitting there and wondering, oh my God, does he watch certain things that he really, really shouldn't? He says it's just like watching the TV. He says there are sometimes you've just got to change the channel and flip to some commercials while things go on that you don't really want to see. He says, particularly when it comes to the news these days. He's actually making a bit of a joke about that, because he said the one thing that's wrong with the world, and he would have gone into one of these rants about the one thing that's wrong with the world today. But with him, there was always at least one thing every day that was different. So he had his lists, don't get me wrong. But he says, the one thing that's wrong with the world today is that they don't do the "and finally" on the news at 10, where they brought up some happy, positive news. He says, yes, you've got all the doom and gloom. He says, but you need something positive to end on. What he wants you to know is that that is his parting gift for you tonight, because I can see I'm being 10 minutes already, blooming neck. He could talk the hind legs off a donkey. He says he understands that there's been all the difficult news, the hard news, but this is your... And finally, some positive. Things are on the up, mate. And you know that you can achieve anything you want, because you've got a good heart, you've got good intentions, but most importantly, you got the right person sitting beside you to help you achieve all that you dream of. And so with that, I'll say God bless you and thank you for listening.
Cheers.
I hope
Thank
that
you
was.
so-
I didn't really give you a chance to say yes or no or anything, because that was the kind of person he was. So I hope you can understand that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bless you. Thank you so much, Jamie.
Thank you.
Thank you. Stick around for the final prayer if you want to.
Cheers. Thank
I'll
you.
see you
Take care.
Say
soon.
hello to Hayley for me.
Will do. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Oh, you were gifted.
I couldn't shut up. I tell you, I thought I was bad at best of times, but I just woo,
Bless.
woo, get it all out.
Yeah, you do get them. That just want to. Okay. Next was Shirley. Hello, Shirley.
Hello.
How are you?
Shirley!
Hello, Nick.
Looking very comfortable.
I am. I'm stretched out on the bed. It's wonderful.
Okay.
Nice.
Very
and
well. Very good. Very good. I shall get out of your way when I can find myself on the screen, and I will leave you in the wonderful company of our Reverend Nick. I'll
Thank
see
you.
you shortly.
Thank you.
Hello, Shirley. How are you, darling?
Hello, Nick. I'm very well, thank you. You?
Yes, I'm very, very good. Now, I must disclaimer time because I like things to be full and above board. I am aware that you've joined our meditation circle because I see your
have,
name pop up yesterday and like at the weekend, but I've never actually been on there, so you know we haven't spoken. We don't really know each other, so there we are. I'm still in the same muddle I always am, meeting new friends for the first time, as I call it. So you know, I'm very much aware as I make the connection with you, because I did say beforehand, everything that I rant about between messages usually implies something about the personality of the person that's coming through, and as their emotional connection from their spirit to my spirit starts to build up, I start to get the feelings and the emotions, and whatever I say tends to mimic that. The person that's coming through now, I truly feel was a bit of a worrier and liked to make sure that everybody knew what was going on and knew where everything was, and make sure did I tell you where that I put my purse, and did I tell you where the keys are, and don't forget, can you remember to move the key from under the mat just in case someone nicks it? And oh, by the way, the shopping list is on the wall there. Yes, dear, you've told us 1,000 times. What, that one over there? I told you about that one. And it's that energy that I'm getting build up now. Very nervous, the way she is feeling is that she had such nervous energy, but she was very, very uncertain of herself, in truth. And although this stuff came across as quite a powerful lady just telling you what to do all the time, it was this uncertainty and this nervous energy that she had, and I can feel it. And I do feel that she would have sat there and had the shakes from time to time. I do feel one hand in particular is shaking, so I don't know whether that's to do with a medical condition that she suffered. She would have had false teeth too. Suffered in her physical life as these shakes. But I do feel this motherly feeling towards you, so I'm going to throw that in there as well. And I'm not going to qualify back a generation, because I do feel this is at least someone who was or is mum, full stop, in your heart. And do you know it's very, very rare, because of how I work with that particular emotional energy. It's very rare to be absolutely adamant that it is mum, full stop, wing on that, you know, just in case, because I feel a bit distant. This is a lady who, in spite of all of her nervous energy, in spite of all of her uncertainty in life, was absolutely certain of one thing, and that was her love for her children.
Thank you.
Because that was never, I say to her, that was never in question. It might have been to some people, but to her, it was never in question. And she, look, between you and me, as the person feeling this emotion, I ain't felt anything quite like it for a long time. So it was absolutely true. She's not Billy bullying you. She's absolutely true with it. And what I'm getting is that although you two talked and had the chance to say everything you wanted to do, you still felt before she passed there were things that were not said or understood.
Yeah.
This is my chance to correct that, she says. This is my chance to correct that.
Thank you.
I know that you're in the meditation group, as I said. I know that you are either well versed, or it doesn't matter what level of development you're on, to be fair. I know you are able to feel her around you. And I know that it's that feeling of love that is there. You have felt it yourself, but you were wondering and asking, am I imagining it? Am I wishing it? Is it really her? I tell you, hand on heart, with absolute confidence, and I'm just as nervous about saying things as bold statements as she was. I tell you with absolute confidence it's her. I tell you with absolute confidence that that's how she feels. Not felt, feels.
Thank you.
And that is one of the most important messages that she has to bring tonight. She will actually say that there are a few things that you need a kicking about, that you do need a smack across the knuckles. She says, I thought I taught you better than that when it comes to polishing glass and, you know, fingerprints and all over. There's fingerprints on glass somewhere that she's really annoyed about. It really annoys her. She says, when I'm trying to peek through the windows, I can't see you properly because there's fingerprints on the windows. So I have to give you that. So, you know, just her little way of showing you that she's there, watching and keeping an eye on you, with a little bit, because she did have a naughty sense of humor, I will say. Now she's feeling a little bit more comfortable and got the difficult bit out of the way. She's showing her naughty side, and just having a little bit of a tease about fingerprints on windows. I love the way they do it, but she could be a lot worse. And she says, don't think that just because this is a church environment that I would keep my mouth shut, because I would say the naughtiest things in the places that I shouldn't do. Because where's the fun of saying it where you should? She says part of the fun about being naughty is doing what you want when you want and in the least appropriate possible time. And I do feel that she was a lot like that. She didn't care what she said to who. And, you know, she'd quite happily go into, say, Ely Cathedral and look around and say, don't they get the cleaners in once a week or something?
Yes.
And she would criticize. If she met the Queen,
all over.
Yeah, if she'd met the Queen, the first thing she would say is not "Good afternoon, Mum," but "You're shorter than I think." She literally didn't care who she offended or pleased. She said it as it was.
Thank you.
She says, you're almost as good at it as I am, but you've got a long way to go.
Long way to go.
She's
Thank
in
you.
all seriousness, she does say, it's probably not a bad thing because I did offend more people than I should have done. And, you know, she's oh, do you know what? She's really, really going for it now for the jugular. She says, all these people these days talking about this snowflake generation thing is a new thing. She says it's absolute rubbish. I mean, I only had to look at certain people and I offended them, and they've, oh my God, bless her. She says, they've been up here longer than I have, and they were more snowflake than the lot down here now. She says, don't know they were born. She says, every generation feels the same way. Every generation feels the same way. That the first time they say it wasn't like that in my day, they begin to feel old. The first time they say something that their parents told them that they swore they would never say, they begin to realize the error of their youth. But most importantly, when they've lived and experienced their life, they realize that the most important thing is to live, love, and enjoy. She says, I lived, I loved, and my word, did I enjoy.
Yes, she did.
And she's saying it hasn't changed because I enjoy every minute of every day, not only watching you, but watching all of the others and occasionally tweaking people's noses and having a bit of fun. So as she starts to back away, she wants me to she wants me to give you a single red rose, as if somebody's gone and cut it off. So I'll give that to you as our parting gift.
Thank you.
And say God bless you and thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Nick.
God bless.
Thank you.
Bless you, Shirley.
Oh, thank you.
I hope that was all right. That was absolutely wonderful.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
No problem. I'll see you shortly. Bye. Bye. Oh, well, I wonder what time it could be.
Wow, it's that time already.
Yeah, I don't know. What am I going to do with my Thursday evenings after next week?
Well, let me tell you, you can still tune in and we will have a camera trained on Bully, because we are taking, as said it before, and I'll say it 1,000 times, thank you for the plug, Tony. Well done. You taught me so well. There's the alarm to tell you that it's Bully time and that we are taking you all with us to the village hall.
Brilliant. Hannah, are you ready? What time is it? Oh, she's gone. What time is it? Bully special prize. How are you, Hannah? Good.
I've been busy.
You've been busy? What? I can just see, it looks like you've got a snowman in front of you, dear.
It's an early snowman.
It's an early snowman. You see, I must be psychic. I knew it was a snowman. That is amazing. I love that. I really love that.
Well done now.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much, Hannah. And we shall see you at the end for the closing prayer, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Bye. Oh, dear. Wonderful. It always makes me smile, Bully.
Yeah,
Bully.
really.
Wonderful.
It's part of home. It's a tradition that we've had for years. And, you know, when you're away from home for 18 months, you definitely need something to remind you of home and of all the traditions that we've had. Bully special prize has personal meaning for me because, you know, it was that moment that somebody nicked a catchphrase that I nicked. And I do apologize to everybody if you're worried. I think my chair's broken because I keep sinking down. So I'm going to try it one more time.
Okay. Well, the recipient of Bully special prize tonight is Tracy. Hello, dear. Are you all right?
My lovely?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good. I shall leave you with Reverend Nick, and I shall see you in approximately 10 minutes. Bye, darling.
Okay.
Tracy!
Bye, Tony.
Hey! How you doing, darling? Wow, this is brilliant because, you know, even though I'm the one who sends out the invites, obviously, Mum is the one who organises the lists now, having taken over the role of medium secretary. She's also recipient secretary while we're online, and you know, I just literally copy, paste, and send, and I try, especially if I'm not the medium, to take no notice, and then I realise, of course, it's you. Hello, darling, and you know, it's good to see you. I have seen you receive messages in the past. As Susan Symes will testify, I forget the messages that I give, let alone what happened last week, the week before, or even the last 18 months. So once again, we do not know each other very well, other than for the occasional friendly comment as we do. So I still find myself having to forcibly make comments on things like that. However, as I'm making these comments, I'm very much aware that I'm struggling to get my words out, as though when I am trying to be formal, when I am trying to be official, when I'm trying to tell people what's what, it didn't always come naturally. And that's certainly how I feel with this person. I haven't even got a gender yet, which is, you know, usually one of the first things I get. Thank you. See, it's always useful to have a coordinator in spirit, a guide who slaps you on the back of the head and says, "That's because you've got both here, you idiot." You know, so I have two people with me, you know, flanking me, and as I look at my image there rather than yours, I can see obviously spiritually that there are two people flanking me, as they would be flanking you. And I do feel this parental connection with you. So I do feel that I've got either mum and dad. I'm going to say mum and dad, rather than it could be some distant, you know, way back generation, because of that, once again, that strong connection. But certainly that difficulty of saying things made your life a merry hell as a child, because I'm not getting it from one, I'm getting it from both. And it, you know, they always say, you know, it's like fighting fire with fire. Well, try and fight silence with silence, and the noise is deafening. You know, it's really quite strange, that the way I feel with their. It's not that they had an inability to communicate, because they could. You could. Right, I apologize about doing this, because I'm very much aware that light in my glasses reflects and you can't see my eyes, and they want me to see your eyes, because they say they could give you a single look and you knew exactly what they were thinking.
Yeah.
And they did it to each other. But you know, when it came to words weren't always that forthcoming. And they're not actually going to apologize for that in any way, shape or form, because it really set you up in life of being able to read between the lines. And also it ensured that when people were saying something to you, you knew whether they were being disingenuous or not, because you didn't need to hear the words. You could see those expressions, those looks, those glares. And so they actually did save you from quite a lot of heartache throughout your adult life, because you could see what was coming and were able most of the time to avoid it, which is a wonderful gift, really. They said one might say you're almost psychic. So I do feel that there is a sense of humor there, even though it was mostly either with each other or new people that the communication was difficult. But, you know, as they warm to the connection and start bouncing off each other as they would have done more privately, they do show this sense of humor. But once again, a lot of the humor was more visual and emotional rather than vocal humor. And you could see them. Oh, that's just really, really beautiful. You could see them laughing inside before they started laughing physically, because you could see it bubbling up. And occasionally you do it yourself too. You have this bubbling up of emotion and you can feel it building and building and building and building. But the difference is you don't hold back. You let it out, because you know what it's like to have witnessed people around you that hold things back too much. And what they're saying is, you've got the right balance, and they're so proud of you for that. You know, it's strange whenever I connect with parents, especially when they come mob-handed, there's always this fear that they're coming to give you a lecture or something. And once again, it's no, we haven't. Either this is like they were, or it is how they've learned to be. And I say that because some people like to interfere in people's lives, and then they have to learn not to. But what they're saying is they've learnt, and you may understand what this means, but they've learnt to be hands-off in telling you what to do because you are your own person. So I get the impression that there were times that they might have been a little bit too overbearing for your own good. But they haven't just learnt it here. They did learn to give you your space on the earth. So it's not like they're coming back to apologize for never giving you your space, but they do recognize that you are your own person, that you are very independent, and that you are very, very strong-willed. And they also acknowledge that you need reminding of that right now, because you're not feeling. She's mum's taken over. She shooed him off the corner to talk to Gordon, my guide, not the bottle of gin, although it was named after him, so that's fine. But yeah, he's been sent off to talk to Gordon while she talks between us two. She's, you ain't been feeling it lately. You ain't been feeling yourself. You ain't been feeling that strength. And she says, you prove to us your strength and independence, just like mediums are supposed to prove the truth to you. And she says, you're very good at discerning the spirits, but the only thing that you're very bad at discerning is your own spirit. And that you don't give yourself enough credit for the strength that you have. So get on with it, woman. And she's literally, she says, now take off your so she's very instructive. She says, now take off your glasses and glare. You know, because she wants to underpin the seriousness of what she's saying, because she was the kind of person who struggled to give you those lectures without making a joke at the end, just to make you realize that it's all over, all okay, which is a lovely personality trait. But she just wanted to remind you of that. I'm also thank you. She says, you'll get in trouble if you don't do this at least once tonight. I have to give you memory links of anniversaries of passing, of births, of marriage, and anniversary and important date. I have to give you March and November as two important dates. And also,
why didn't was November?
Oh, bless you. Well, she's very good at what she does, so she obviously hangs around and listens in circles and stuff. She gave me a wry smile then, so I'm assuming that she was mediumistic in her physical life. If not practiced and public, very, very good medium on a natural level. Because as soon as I said about circles, she just gave me a naughty grin, as if to say, if only you knew.
Never practiced it. My grandma was excellent.
Oh, wow. So it's a family thing, you see. She said, and which now makes sense why she sent hubby off to talk to Gordon so that us three girls could talk together. And that was her sense of humor as well. She would have described me as one of the girls and brought me into it, just adopted me so that we could have the girly chat. And that was what she was like without him around. And it's strange because what she's done in this message is shown what they were like together, but also then got him to go away and talk to Gordon so that she could show the other side of her. And it was just you two. And she says, don't worry, he's not always here. I do send him away from time to time. So when you want a girly chat, she says, my girl, I am here. And as she starts to back away now, I'm reminded that she would occasionally have a shilling or two on a gamble. She liked the Grand National. She says, however, if you're wondering about the weekend results, it's going to be 3-2, but so you can't lose any money. I'm not telling you which team. And on that note, I will say God bless and thank you for listening.
Oh, bless.
Thank you very much.
What a wonderful reading. Thank you so much, Tracy, for coming on. And I'll see you shortly, darling. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, what a wonderful evening. I just want to share with you a couple of the comments I saw.
Oh, bless you.
I hope Nick will stand more often. He has such a lovely way of working with spirit, says Karen. Bless her.
Bless you.
Tracy, you have so much light around you, from Evelyn.
Oh, hey, Evelyn.
Our lovely Matthew. Look at that picture. Wonderful.
See you
message.
next week.
See you next week, Matthew. I'll have to watch on catch up. But
you're working, aren't you?
I am. I'm working. I'm working at our other church in Bridlington. I believe. Excellent tonight, Nick. Just the look on the recipient's face is confirmation enough of your excellent mediumship.
Bless you. Thank
you. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful messages.
Oh,
you're amazing, Nick, says Jess. Matthew, I'm excited for next week. Big smiley face.
Everyone is.
Yeah, well, when Mr. Stapley comes on my feeds and people see his comments, it turns into a giggle fest.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, it's at that point I have to say, well, I've lost control of the service now, so I'll just leave it, you know.
It's wonderful when that happens, though, isn't it?
It is, it is. But what's going to be really interesting is this next bit where I bring up our Reverend Lynn for her evaluation of tonight.
Oh, I haven't had, before you bring her up, I haven't had an evaluation of her observing me working that's probably going to be as this deep and complex since my fledglings evening about 20 years ago. So I'm going down there.
You're going down there. Yeah. Now you know how I feel. Reverend Lynn.
Reverend Lynn. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Very, very good, Nick. Reverend Nick.
Thank you.
I'm so pleased that you had a wonderful chairperson, somebody, a good minister to lead the service, because that's basically, you're a leading minister for the service, Reverend Tony. And it went seamlessly well. And your mediumship is, of course, what it should be. And, it's something, people talk about role models. And I think you're a very good role model. And I feel some pride in your achievement. I think it was just so lovely to see everybody's comments and to see the response of your recipients. and you carried out to the letter, really, everything that I was talking about in my address. And you demonstrated without a doubt that our spiritualist philosophy and science and phenomena is all real, that your mediumship is genuine, that you are indeed talking to the world of spirit and individuals in there who have identified themselves and have been accepted by their loved ones who've been left here. And really the whole tone of your demonstration was really excellent, Reverend Nick. So I'm very pleased that you fledged when you did. And of course you've done what everybody should do, which is, of course, you've built on that and progressed yourself, because the only people who can, achieve anything are people who work on themselves and by themselves take on board any instruction they can get. Because the worst thing about ignorance is that people either don't know they're ignorant or refuse to believe that they're ignorant, which brings me back to the subject of my address earlier, which is the interpretation of that which is in the Bible, for instance. And your demonstration tonight and Reverend Tony's leadership there just demonstrated all of that to be actually the truth. So thank you for vindicating my address. The other thing I'd like to say is that, yes, I expect some people are quite surprised that we have this sort of light-hearted attitude. The fact is this, that we are all physical human beings down here, and we all have our own, predilections and our feelings and our emotions, which are tied into our physicality. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that whatsoever. And William Shakespeare himself, in Twelfth Night, said, dost thou think that just because thou art a Puritan, there shall be no more cakes and ale? Just because other people are Puritans in their attitudes doesn't mean to say that we've all got to be like it. And it doesn't, it doesn't hurt to have a bit of a giggle. And I think that our spiritualism has room for lots of laughter of that kind. And it's so funny to see you all swooning over another medium. And I think he's probably glad that he's not going to be here in person. Because he'd probably be feel that he was under siege. Because, I ought to say to everybody, we're not all gay, in spiritualism, but there are quite a few of us. And the lovely thing about spiritualism is that you don't have to hide it either. And you don't have to creep about, oh, Matthew, if I ever visit the UK, I want to go lay down on Rev Lynn's couch and listen to her talk for hours. So inspired. Oh, bless you, Matthew. I wondered what you were going to say. I was going to say, lay down on my couch. I beg your pardon, young man.
I have actually done that, Matt. I will say. I have sat upon the chaise. I have sat upon the chaise long.
Oh yes, indeed.
And listened to you talk for hours.
Yes, quite. But I suddenly thought that he'd got the wrong person there. But yes, in more ways than one. But yeah, so it's so kind of people to say things like that to me, and I'm sorry if I appall anybody, but I spent my life appalling most people, so I suppose why should it change now? But really, Reverend Nick and everybody who's joined in this service, Reverend Tony, Reverend Alan and Hannah and Bully, and Reverend Alan with his reading, I hope that people go away from this service and feel uplifted and feel loved and feel that they're in the company of like-minded people, and that it matters not to us what your lifestyle is in the physical sense, or anything that's to do with our physical life, because we are all spirit and we all accept that, and our spirit is pure and is attached to the wonderful great spirit, and we all only want to do our best for everybody, and we do try and carry out that that commandment, love one another, and we do, and we'd like to spread that love as much as we can. And if you have a little smile and a giggle whilst doing that, well, why not? So I say God bless you, and I look forward to Matthew, when you do come over here, you may come and lay upon my couch. Well, I don't know about laying on it, but certainly relax and have a little chat. And of course, most people, I'm sure, are able to lay on their couches and turn my little videos on and have a listen to them. So if people do want to hear, I could mention that I do have some videos on my Lynn Gibdiswalt YouTube channel, and I also have www.lynnguestiswalt.com, which thanks to Reverend Nick, who is a wizard with the web, a wizard even with the web. I knew he was. I must be psychic. I knew he was going to pick up that crystal ball. Here we are, and here's a little candle that I've had burning bright here. I'll show you. I've had that little candle burning bright there all night for everybody, little heart-shaped candle. So God bless everybody, and I hope that you have received some healing and comfort from this wonderful service that was given by Reverend Nick tonight, along with Reverend Tony, Reverend Alan, and Hannah and Bully. God bless.
God bless. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'll just mute you for a second so we don't get echo. Well, I feel a closing prayer coming on. And yes, as I was going to say notices then, but you've already given off that you have the lovely Mr. Stapley coming live from Canada next week. So I shall bring everybody back up. Shirley and Reverend Alan, and if I click Nick again, he'll disappear rather than pop up. Samantha and Hannah and Tracy. And I'm sure you will all agree it's been a wonderful evening, and we've really appreciated Reverend Nick serving tonight. So God bless. And yes, bravo, sir, bravo. Evidence indeed that life goes on beyond the physical realm. So if everybody would like to join me in a closing prayer, please, could we blend our energies together? Great Spirit, Father, Mother, God, we thank you so much for the evidence of life eternal that has been given tonight. Father, I ask that any energy that's been created go out around the world to the places you know it's needed the most. I ask for the sick that there be healing, for the homeless that there be shelter, for the hungry that there will be food, and for the thirsty that there will be water. Father, I now hand back to you everything which is rightfully yours, with love, with honour and glory. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much.
And thank you, Tony. If I may just interrupt you, Mr. Chair, for just one moment. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the lovely Reverend Tony Swindles. God bless you, my friend. You know, every single time I've been either stuck, screwed, or messed up, you've been there to step into the breach. Whenever I've messed up my rota, whenever I've been in difficulty, you have been there throughout this last 18 months to chair for us and make sure that we have not missed a single week this last 18 months. So Tony, thank you from all of us.
It's what we do. It's what we do.
I know, but we still acknowledge that fact. And of course,
thank you.
It leads me to be able to say that next week will, of course, be the last service from Chateau Del Nick à la Boudoir del Brown. But we are taking you with us back to the village hall with our 600 tea bags and our 300 biscotti, thanks to Beverly Weaver, bless your heart. And we're taking you all with us because you're family now and you're stuck with us. That's what we always say. Once you're in, you're never getting back out. Yeah.
But thank you, everybody. God bless you all. I won't be live with you next week, but I shall certainly watch and catch up. And now it's time for the credits. So good night and God bless everybody. See you soon. God bless you all.
God bless.
Thank you.